everyone, this is Deb with Four Seasons Crafts. Today we are going to be making a card using the Nuts About Squirrels. This was a carryover from the spring, January through June 2021, and now it's in the annual catalog. So it's a super fun stamp set, lots of different stamps that you can choose from, some nice sayings, and then just lots of different ways you can overlap and color with this stamp set. So we are going to go ahead and make this card right here. So super fun. It's a fun fold that opens up. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me go ahead and go over what pieces we're going to use, and then we'll go ahead and assemble our card. So our card base is a little bit smaller than a typical card. It is 7 and a half, or 7 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then you're going to score it at 3 inches. And then you have another piece here, and we're going to do our colors a little different than the sample I showed you. Then you have this piece here, and it is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, so just a regular square, and then you're going to score it at 1 inch. Then you're going to take, in this case, now you could use designer series paper. In this case, I took a piece of Early Espresso cardstock and ran it through the 3D bricks, I think it's brick and mortar embossing folder. And this one is cut at 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. Okay, or yeah, 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. And then you're going to have another piece of designer series paper, and this is 3 inches by 4 inches. And this is from the, it's the Guy designer series paper. I can't think of it off the top of my head. It might be like He's the Man, or so, but absolutely love it. You'll see it has the barbecue stuff on the back, and then we're going to use kind of the pattern stripes. So it has some great colors in there. And then, of course, we are going to have our piece of white cardstock. And this one I've already stamped with the leaf that's in the stamp set right here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and use that. And then you're going to need a piece of 2 1/2 by 3 1/2. And this is going to be used for our squirrel and our sentiment. And then we're going to have a couple scraps here. This scrap is for us to stamp our greeting, and then this is to create the layer behind our greeting. So there you have it. So let's go ahead and get started by going ahead and burnishing these score lines here. So we'll go ahead and get those down. And now we're going to go ahead and we will start with this one here, and we're going to go ahead and layer our piece of designer series paper, and we'll just put a little Tombow glue on the back here. And I have just put the Tombow in one of these smaller bottles there. It makes it a little easier when we're working with maybe smaller areas. And the other bottle just ran out, the regular full-size bottle. All right, so there we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece here, and we are going to attach it to our card base. And how we're going to do that is we're just going to line up this scored edge right here. Okay, and so you're just going to need to check both sides to make sure that it's even. All right, so we're just going to turn this right over. And this is where it's kind of nice to have this smaller little bottle, because then it doesn't ooze quite as much. All right, I'm going to turn it this way and double check. And the nice thing too about using Tombow is it gives you just a little bit more space there from, you know, that you can kind of wiggle it around. So I'm just going to move that down just a bit. Looks to be even. All right, and so here is our fun fold. Isn't that simple? All right, now we're going to go ahead and adhere the middle part of our card. This will give us a gauge because we want everything to kind of be very uniform across the top. So here we go. And again, I'm going to show you the color palette here next after I glue this down, and then that way it'll give you an idea of the color of the leaves that I went ahead and stamped already on this card. I think these squirrels, you know, when I was putting together this card, I thought, oh, this is perfect for fall. But I was thinking there's a lot you could do like for spring and summer and even winter with the squirrels. So we might have to do a follow-up. All right, let me go ahead and show you the colors that I used. So we used, oh, and we used this one too. So we used pumpkin or garden green, pumpkin pie, Cajun craze, early espresso, and crushed curry. So those are the colors that I've used throughout this card. So these, I think you can tell this is early espresso here. And then the squirrel, when we get to that, we'll stamp him in early espresso as well. All right, so our card is coming together. So now we're going to take our brick and mortar piece here that's been embossed, and we're going to put that here. However, before we do, let me bring in our sample again. On here, you'll see it has this kind of a little bit of a washed out look, maybe aged on stone. That is just using some of the Whisper White ink. So that's what we're going to do using a sponge dauber. So we're just going to take a sponge dauber, and we are going to just add a little bit of a worn, and it kind of gives us a little more of a textured look here. So you're just going to take this and just kind of rub it all over that brick, and you can just, you know, make it darker in some places if you'd like. But again, it just kind of reveals a little more of the texture, but gives it just a little bit of a not so stark, you know, solid color. So that is all for that. So now we're going to go ahead and adhere this to our card. Again, just use some of our glue here. These would make for great cards. Pop in the mail to someone, even just wishing them, you know, happy fall. That's in a couple weeks, right? So here we go. We'll layer this right here. And there you have it. All right, now we are ready to do our front piece. And this is our piece that was 2.5 by 3.5. And this is where we're going to actually stamp our squirrel. So under here, I actually have a little mini foam pad so that I get that cushion for the photopolymer stamps. And that actually came right out of the Stamparatus. So instead of getting a different one, we have that one. So this is early espresso. So we're going to go ahead and stamp our squirrel here. And we'll just make sure we got it inked up pretty good and give us a little bit of room at the bottom. And then we're gonna put him right down there. Awesome. And now we're gonna take our branch here because we want that to kind of pop out of the back right here. Oops, I might have jumped a little bit. Oh, that's okay. All right, you know, it doesn't matter because it's branches. And when you look at it, it just looks like it's multiple branches. So there we go. All right, now on this stamp set, you guys will see you have the squirrel and then you've got this shaded part. So that's what we're gonna use here. So you do need to line it up pretty well. And, you know, actually one of the other colors we're gonna use is crumb cake. So that's gonna be our color of our squirrel. So we're gonna go ahead, let's move this one out of the way for a minute. And let's go ahead. Now, I'm gonna give you a couple places when I am putting this down on the squirrel here. I look at his ears, his feet, and then these notches. And that's what I'm trying to line up when I when I'm putting this down. So I'll try to keep my head out of the way here and just get those little pieces lined up as best I can. And it doesn't have to be perfect because it's homemade. All right, now you guys are gonna see here, see how I just missed that little spot? Well, I have got the crumb cake alcohol markers here. Make sure I got the right one. And this is the dark one. And all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this and fill that in right there. And there's a couple dots here as well that just look like they just didn't quite get enough ink on them. And there you go. Now you could take a brush, you could take a marker, because there's really not, it wasn't a lot. It was just those couple little places. And again, you could just leave it as well and let it go. All right, now we're gonna fill in our acorn. Now you can use these two stamps and it will fill in the acorn for you. I'm gonna go ahead and just use these soft suede markers, or yeah, Stampin' Blends. Okay, so I'm just gonna use those. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the dark and I'm just gonna go over the highlights here, okay? Then I'm gonna take the lighter one and actually fill in the actual acorn here. So again, you could choose to color it, you can choose to stamp it in, either way. The nice thing about this is if you don't have one coloring tool, it's no problem, because you know you can always use a different one. You know, if you don't have Stampin' Blends, maybe you have a marker. If you don't have a marker, then you can just use ink and a brush. There's lots of options, right? So I'm just going to add a little shading to this acorn there. And then of course I'm going to go back over it again with the light. And this is what makes these markers so nice, right? You can add whatever amount of color you want. So there we go. All right, so there is our squirrel. That simple. And if you wanted to, you could go ahead and color all this in, like I did on one of the samples that I will show you. I think I may have shown you already, but all right, now we're ready to use our leaves. So what we're gonna do is we are going to be using, for our leaves, we're gonna use garden green, pumpkin pie, and crushed curry. So those are the three colors. So we're gonna go ahead and put this one away. And let's get out our crushed curry. All right, so we're gonna use 3 different colors for our leaves here. So all I'm gonna do, we'll start with crushed curry, and just inked this up yesterday, so we'll see. And I am just gonna put this leaf right down there. And then I'm gonna add one as well, kind of to the bottom. Oh, I did that. I cannot tell you guys how many times I did that yesterday. I put it in the wrong ink color, which is never good. So I'm actually gonna just pick that right up, and we're just gonna pop it over here just to make sure it's some very similar color, so it should be okay. All right, so let's go back to our crushed curry and we'll get another one right here. And then we will do another orange. Now, when you do this, you do want to make sure you try to stamp all of them at once, right? So because the inside of our card is already done, if it wasn't, we would probably go ahead and stamp all of our orange, all of our yellow, and then all of our green in the inside of our card as well. That way you only have to, you can re-ink many times, but you only have to clean it once. All right, there we go. So we have 3 on the tree, and now we're going to get some that are kind of over here. And there you have it. Now we have one other thing, little touch of color that we're going to do here. And that is using one of our markers to actually create a little bit of flecks or flickers on our card here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the edge of my Stampin' Right marker. Okay, so not my alcohol marker, but one of my Stampin' Right markers. And you're just going to put the tip in the cap and you're just going to flick the ink down. So the closer you get, you can see the more kind of flicks you're gonna get. But it makes for such a different look, if you guys can see that, rather than just leaving it so stark white. And I will show you the difference, because the first one I did leave white. But isn't that cool? Really like it. All right, so now we just have to stamp our greeting. So this is my piece of scrap paper. I put a little X in the corner so I would remember that this is my scrap and not confuse it with another card. We're going to bring in our early espresso, and we are using the happy birthday from the stamp set here. And we're going to go ahead and tap that in, and I'm going to go ahead and just stamp that down. Now you guys can use any punch. I am using an older punch, I'm gonna say, but you could literally cut this out on your cutting tool if you wanted to. So you don't have to necessarily do it here. All right, so I didn't leave myself quite enough room, did I? So that's okay. Here we go. We're just going to take our bone folder and I'm just going to line this up here. And there you go. We're going to pop that right out. And now we're going to take that same punch and we're just going to punch out a block. Now, just so you guys know, if you don't have that punch, just take a slit of here, and I'll just show you. How about that? Just so you know. So you can just get this in. We'll just take about a 1/2 inch. So you would take a 1/2 inch for the greeting, and then you could take a 1/2 inch here, and then I'm just gonna cut it right about there. And then all you would do is take your snips here and you would just cut at an angle two pieces there. Okay, and you could do the same over here as well. Oops. Okay, and that one might be a little off, so you might have to adjust it a little bit, but there you have it. So you don't need the punch for this. You can easily make this all on your own. And you might say, well, look, it doesn't fit. Well, that's okay, because I'm going to show you again. The width would, or the height would have to be the same here. But all we're going to do now with this one, because they're the exact same punch, if I just put them down, they're going to go right on top of each other, right? So all we do, we're going to cut it right down the middle. And there you have it. We're going to put glue on both sides here. And some glue over here. And then all I want to do is to layer this down just so I can see the tip. And that again just adds a little bit of color, a little bit of dimension there. So once I get them put down, I can then start to work just to make sure that they're even on both sides. And then if I put my finger like this, then I can make sure I don't see any of the other shade of paper behind it. Okay, there we go. So now we're going to bring our card back in, and we are going to go ahead and glue this down, and then we're going to put a little bit of linen thread on there, and we are done. Okay, there we go. Put this right in the middle there. All right. Now you guys could pop that up on dimensionals as well. I just chose not to. All right, now we're gonna take a little bit of linen thread. Now you could use ribbon, you can use anything, twine, but I'm just rolling that around my fingers like 3 times. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and trim off the edge. And we're gonna bring in our glue dots here. And here's a glue dot right here. So all the places where all that ribbon comes together is right here. So I'm going to put that on one glue dot. Now I'm going to stretch it out, okay, like this here. And I'm going to take the next glue dot and I'm just going to layer it right there. And now all I have to do is I'm going to bring those 2 glue dots together, take them off. And I have a nice loop here that I am now going to stick right there on my card. Now, you want to put this wherever you're going to put your greeting here, okay? Because you want your greeting to go over top of where those 2 glue dots are. The other thing is you want to make sure you don't put a dimensional where all that ribbon comes, or all that twine comes together. Otherwise, it'll create create like a little hump, and we don't want that. All right, so now we're going to grab our mini dimensionals here, and we'll just take a few of those, put one on both sides, and then you're almost going to put one a little bit over to either the left or the right, and then this is where that twine is going to be. Okay, we're going to take this all off, and here we go. And now we are just going to check the bottom there, and then just layer that right down like that. And that is it, guys. Isn't that such an adorable card? Lots of color, and a lot of different textures there. So let me pull in the one that I showed you, I think earlier. I have another one I'm going to show you too. So this one has speckles, this one has speckles. This one has Cajun Craze, this one has Early Espresso. So this one you'll see was Early Espresso as the base. This one is Cajun Craze with an Early Espresso back. And then this one, of course, is one that doesn't have the speckles on it, and the squirrel is all colored in. So I would love to know what your thoughts are, which one you like better out of the 3. I think I really do like the speckles, and I like the Cajun Craze, but we'll move them like this way. So you guys will have to tell me 1, 2, or 3. 1, 2, or 3. Which one you think you like the best. Anyhow, all right. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for joining, and have a great day. Bye.